everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, the DRF race of the day for Wednesday, January the 3rd. Race number 9 at Tampa Bay Downs. We're going a mile on the turf. Let's take a look at this field of optional claimers. $32,000 is the optional claiming price, second level allowance. Interesting field, Mike, because the last time several of these horses faced off, there was a very fast pace that cooked some of the front runners, maybe kind of dressing up the closers a bit.
That's possible, and I looked at it kind of the same way, Dan. I guess the real tipping point for this race, though, is it kind of feels like this pace could be fast as well.
I think there's a chance this pace can be fast. Timeform US is going to agree with your assessment as we throw up the pace projector. I think the 1 and the 2 are going to show speed. The judge and jury is stretching out off several competitive sprint efforts. Mega City was one of the horses cooked on that fast pace. Maybe the number 4 is going to show some speed as well, One Time Willard. But other than that, I'm not sure this pace is going to really get electric.
I mean, we'll see. I kind of agree that the 2 will make the lead in here. Although the 1, the judge and jury, sort of the key to this whole pace, Dan. If that horse, stretching out here is on a mission from the rail, then that will heat this pace up. I also just sort of feel like we'll see what they decide to do with the 8 Alabama Slammer this time. But this horse was on a very fast pace last time. And overall, he's just a speed. I mean, I'd be a little bit surprised if they rated him here.
The horse with the fastest Timeform US late pace rating. You could argue that horse would benefit most if the pace is fast. That's the 3 Fatima's Blessing, finished ahead of 4 of these last time out with a similar pace scenario. That horse has no speed, will be running on at the end. Let's kick things off with a very consistent number 1, the judge and jury, going out for Jamie Ness. This horse has hit the board in his last 13 starts, all of those races sprinting. Let's watch his most recent turf effort. 2 starts back, going 5/8 of a mile at Tampa Bay, and the pace wasn't very fast in this race, but as usual, he's going to kick on, give a good try in dead heat for second. He was one of 3 next out winners to emerge from this race. He scored in gate-to-wire fashion on dirt last time.
Yeah, he scored in gate-to-wire fashion going 7. Maybe that'll give you some hopes that he can get the 2-turn mile here. I don't know, Dan. He's a maiden on turf. We just watched his most recent turf start. He ran fine in there, but I didn't see some kind of huge excuse for him. In that race. It doesn't feel like he's going to be much price in here. It feels like his best chance to win might be to go to the lead, and this pace could be fast. I don't know. Maybe he just wins here. I'm not betting him, and I certainly don't like the morning line price.
Yeah, 7-2 on the morning line. Sammy Camacho aboard for Jamie Ness, one of the horses that also came out of that race we just saw to win, earned an 86 buyer at Gulfstream, but on the Tapeta surface. Mega City is the number 2. I think there's a way to take apart Mega City's form, and maybe he's a little bit dirtied up as the potential pace setter. He was on that very fast pace last time out, sub 22 opening quarter mile, and then tired. 2 back, he was likely overmatched in the Red Bank and still held on for 4th. 3 back at Monmouth, up close to a very fast pace. So the key for him is, can he get close and be able to drop the anchor a little bit?
Yeah, can he do that, or can he just go to the lead this time and maybe just pull a little bit more of a comfortable trip? And listen, they did that. At least I thought they did that with him last time, because they clearly wanted the lead early. That pace was fast. 2 horses went to his inside, so they just sort of backed off. He dropped over and sat 3rd in that race. I didn't think it was a poor trip, but the pace was fast and he was close to it. He got very tired in the stretch of that race. I thought it's still disappointing, even with the pace involved in, but just go back through his PPs. I mean, he's got several races that make him really, really tough in here. If he makes the lead, I think he's the horse to beat in a lot of ways. I think I don't know if you're getting 8-1, that's a great price on the morning line. I don't know. I just look at him as a major player in here.
Fatima's Blessing, arguably the best closer in this race, is the number 3. Again, finished ahead of 4 of these at a similar level last time out. Dropped far back, as is his habit. The pace was extremely fast, as we mentioned. Sub 22 opening quarter, 45 for the half. He was rolling on at the end for 3rd, but no match for the winner.
Yeah, he did run pretty well last time, but he had a great setup in that race. I didn't see a huge excuse for him, but he ran fine in there. I liked some of the races he was running in New York, last year as well. I think this horse has a real chance in this race. He's supposed to have more pace to run at. 6-1 seems fair to me. I could use this horse, but it's not like I love him in here.
One Time Willard is the number 4. He was up close to a more moderate pace last time out at Tampa Bay. They went the half in 48. He was on the lead. He ended up getting tired that day, finishing behind a horse in this race, Space Runner. This time around, you got to think the pace is going to be a lot faster. Both of his wins have come when he's up close to the lead. I got to think they're going to have to sit back and try to at least rate a bit.
Yeah, I like that at least he's shown that he can run without, being right out on the lead, Dan. He's probably going to try to be up close. Anyway, the pace wasn't that fast last time. I still felt like when I went back and watched it, and maybe you don't agree with this, but I mean, he was under pressure on the pace the entire way. And it's not like he just got loose and got tired. I mean, there was a horse sort of hounding him. He ran fine. I'm still not convinced that his best race gets it done against this field.
Magical Marriage is the number 5. What I like about this guy is he's versatile. 2 starts back, going 2 turns at Delaware over a soft track. He sort of was off the pace. He came with a good run and ran third. Last time out, he was closest, you could argue, to that fast pace at Tampa Bay, and he still hung on pretty well to be fourth. He had a pretty good trip overall, saving ground in behind the lead, but the pace was so fast, it went to closers. He held on pretty well and could do better second back.
I kind of looked at him the same way. He was off a little bit of a layup there. Overall, I don't think you would argue with the trip he pulled last time, but he was way closer to the pace, than the 1, 2, 3 finishers were in there. So I don't know. I thought he ran fine in there. His race 2 back was good. His race 3 back, the win at Monmouth, was really good. He got a perfect trip that day as well, but he beat a good field, I thought, and he beat him pretty easily. And it just kind of feels like from post 5 here, Dan, he's going to fall into another really good trip here.
8-1 on the morning line for Zatip and trainer Pat McBurney. The 6 for 5, Magical Marriage and trainer Pat McBurney. Zatip is the 6. And really the question for him is, can he run anymore? He went to the sidelines for a very long period of time. He returned in a 5.5 furlong turf race at Keeneland. Layoff worked against him. Class worked against him. They ran him on dirt last time out, which might not be his surface. So maybe he's a little bit dirtied up for a very good trainer, obviously, in Graham Motion, stretching out in distance, another horse that can be close to the pace.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with this horse. I mean, maybe you have something to say about his most recent race, Dan, at Laurel. It looks to me like he was just terrible in there. And personally, I think he is a dirt horse. He's bred to be a dirt horse. His 2 career wins are both on dirt. I get it. He's very lightly raced on the turf, and they did debut him on this surface. So maybe Motion thinks he's a turf horse. He's kind of hard to bet in here. I guess if you like him and you want to give him one more shot, 12-1 morning line is fair if you can get that price. But he's a real wild card in this race.
It was a good field he was in against at Laurel last time out. Monday Morning QB, I think, won the Maryland Million Classic a few years ago, and he was actually favored Zatip over that horse, but he just didn't run at all. So the jury's still out as to whether this horse still has it. Switching to the turf, as Mike mentioned, a little bit of a question mark considering the pedigree, but you get good price on Awesome Connections. The 7 is Sam Yaza, horse who returned off a little bit of a layoff last time out, saved ground on the turf in that fast-paced race, gave an even finish. Maybe he could do better in his second off that short break. His big races have come in the Midwest at Canterbury and Hawthorne.
Yeah, and his best races also seem like when he's able to be, sort of up close to the pace, and I don't think that's going to work for him. And here's another one who personally didn't think that he ran that well in that most recent start. He was away from the pace. He did have to steady very slightly around the turn there, but overall, I thought that trip was really good, and he's another one I just don't think his best race gets it done yet.
It's probably fair to throw at Alabama Slammer's last race because he was just on a send that day, and he got cooked on the pace, and he tired very badly. Hard to rate him off of his prior form, though. Most of those races on synthetic at Presque Isle Downs where he's on or near the lead. So I wouldn't be surprised if once again Alabama Slammer is pressing a quick pace. The good news is, if he can get a little bit of a breather, I think turf might be better for him than synthetic, and that's where he's been stuck in Pennsylvania for the last year or so.
Exactly. That's why I sort of wonder how dirtied up this horse is, Dan, because he spent so much time on the all-weather surfaces throughout basically 2022 and 2023, and then back on turf last time. Just had no chance, sort of dueling that fast pace all the way around to the top of the stretch before he gave way. Prior to the surface switch, though, he was 2 for 3 in his career routing on the turf, and he was earning competitive figures in those races. I think there's a way to make a really solid case for this horse, but this pace is supposed to be fast again.
Space Runner, the number 9, might have found a home up at Tampa Bay. Began his career down at Gulfstream Park. Here's his Tampa Bay debut. Second level allowance on December the 13th. Worked out a nice inside-out trip. The pace wasn't necessarily fast, but he grinds it down to win, and the runner-up came back and earned an 88 buyer when winning an allowance at Gulfstream.
I guess he runs fine in this race. His recent form is actually pretty good on both surfaces, the all-weather and the turf. He got a great trip in this race, and I do think he beat an okay field, but I also think the runner-up was best in there with a really big excuse, and that horse came back to run really well in his next start. I don't know. This horse could win. I would never. He's the 3-1 morning line favorite in here. I would never bet him at that price.
A final horse in the body of the field is the 10 Happy Runner, another horse that was successful in his Tampa Bay debut. This against weaker first level allowance competition, and he got a great trip breaking from the inside, Mike. He basically sat a loose pocket, went after this big long shot on the lead on the turn, and was just better than that horse was. It was a solid enough effort for Happy Runner. This trip likely not available to him from post 10.
That was sort of the main question that I had. He gets a great trip in here and gets the job done. You can see there's also nobody closing at all in that race. So just kind of felt like he took advantage. He doesn't have the rail this time, Dan. He's got the far outside post, so I don't see how he falls into another trip like that one. It does feel like, though, he's tactical enough if he can get over from the outside to fall into a pretty good one here. I didn't think he was, that hard to make a case for. I would just wanted to wait and see what kind of price he was.
My man Vito, the 11s and MTO. If we looked at the 12 through 14, the AEs, maybe Mr. Kringle is a horse I would look at. I know you're familiar from him watching his races in New York, and he was pretty competitive up there against New York Breds.
He was, but he just never, ever, ever wins. Maybe this is the right spot. He can sit and make one run, too, so that's a positive for him. He's just not my kind of horse.
Before we get to our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Let's take a look at our top picks for the Wednesday race of the day, Tampa Bay's 9th. You're going with Magical Marriage. Again, a situation where this horse ran a little bit better than it looks last time out, perhaps, Mike. He was up close to a fast pace. He still hung in there pretty well, and he has several races that show he can finish strong.
Yeah, just like his overall turf form, I thought he fit really well in this field and maybe could fall into a better trip this time. And he's a great price on the morning line. I just sort of wanted to stay away from the shorter prices in here, Dan. I like this horse. I thought the 2 Mega City was the horse to beat.
Happy Runner, the number 10, again, is stepping up in class off a good trip win. But Mike mentioned this horse does have tactical speed, and I think he's going to be hustled out of there and then try to find a good spot in the second flight or so while clear of traffic. I wouldn't take any less, though, than the 5-1 odds in this competitive group. 5, 2, 3, and 8 for Mike, 10, 9, 1, and 3 for me. It's your Wednesday DRF race of the day at Tampa Bay. Good luck.